If you want to know more about the latest news about games, you can subscribe to me. I will help you find some fun and addictive games, or new games you are looking forward to. From action to plot, from independent small workshops to masterpieces of big companies. Which one will be your next reason to stay up all night? Let's take a look. Welcome to Soulframe, a game that draws you into a mysterious world filled with ancient ruins, cursed woods, and places that feel like they've stepped straight out of a feverish folklore tale. The visual rendering in this game is stunning. Soulframe leans more into being an open-world action RPG, featuring procedurally generated dungeons that emphasize exploration and puzzle solving, rather than just mindless enemy grinding, like in typical MMO raids. Every strike feels deliberate and impactful. You'll dodge, parry, and even pray to the forest gods in combat. There's also the depth you'd expect from a good RPG, exploration, character progression, and just enough strangeness to keep you constantly intrigued. The style shares some DNA with Warframe, especially in terms of combat flow and gameplay systems. There are still a few rough edges that need smoothing out, but if you love immersive worlds, dynamic combat, and stories that unfold like ancient myths, Soulframe might just be your next obsession. China has been working on launching big, high-budget video games with Chinese original IPs in an unprecedented way over the past few years. This is no simple hack-and-slash game. It showcases a unique culture, full of ancient Chinese art. The combat is sharp and intense, just like the Soul series games, but with a different style. The overall plot of the game revolves around returning to the Tang Dynasty, a dynasty during the heyday of China, which players need to explore and interpret through the protagonist. The action is smooth, the moves are clean and neat, and there is no drag, which makes you question reality. It is both a martial arts game and an open-world game, and it has the essence of both. If you like exciting, intense experiences, such as Chinese history, and want to explore ancient China in depth, then Scarlet Message will definitely make you stand out. Don't believe those far-fetched predictions. Time travel sounds cool, and a game developed and made with UE5 is called Chrono Odyssey. From watching the trailer, I never thought that this game would be an MMO. It looks more like a classic single-player action RPG with some Souls-like elements. One minute you are fighting with fully armed knights, and the next minute you are destroying shadow beasts with nuclear weapons under a meteor shower. From the character aesthetic point of view, it is very similar to the unique character style of South Korea. At first, I wondered if this was some new Monster Hunter type game, until they show this big monster and dozens of characters around. The combat is smooth and exciting. Huge swords, cool spells, and skill conversion mechanics that allow you to turn the tide in battle. If you like dark and esoteric historical theology and Greek mythology, and have a knack for developing in the unknown, this game is definitely a game that will attract you the most. This game is very interesting. In my opinion, it can surpass any RPG/MMO currently on the market. I hope you can complete production and release it soon. If you like your RPGs with a side of existential dread and a strong narrative backbone, Echoes of the End might be your new obsession. You play as Rin, a former warrior with reality-bending powers stuck between destiny and self-destruction. This isn't a loot and grind type of game, it's story-first, choice-driven, and packed with philosophical overtones. Think Hellblade meets The Witcher, with a surreal, magical twist. The visuals are gorgeous. Cinematic fantasy realism, with moody lighting, Nordic-inspired environments, and characters that actually emote. Every frame feels like a still from a Netflix show you'd binge in a weekend. Combat is real-time, but not overly technical. It's more about timing, power management, and understanding your surroundings. The game wants you to think before you strike, not mash buttons. If you're into emotionally heavy RPGs with thoughtful world building and characters that break the mold, Echoes of the End deserves a spot on your radar. Remember the days of massively multiplayer online games, MMOs, when it was all about click-to-attack combat and oversized pants? That's right, Ragnarok Online. Defy the fates, a direct hit to the eyeball, a spinning axe to the skull. This isn't your grandma's Ragnarok Online. It's darker, quicker, and packed with that just one more fight kind of thrill. It leans more toward a single-player adventure with action RPG elements. Powered by Unreal Engine 5, the game delivers stunning visuals and a deep gear system that lets you customize your character's style in full detail. The world drips with dark fantasy vibes, cursed landscapes, towering bosses, and the eerie sense that something massive is always watching. The visuals are razor sharp, and the characters, like they strutted right out of a Victorian goth runway. Combat, slick and satisfying. If you're craving that hardcore MMO grit with a modern twist, Defy the Fates might just be your next obsession. In most role-playing games, forests are where you accumulate experience points and discover treasures. Not so in Chains of Lukomorye. This game takes you to a magical land full of talking bears, vengeful ghosts, and enough folklore to make your grandma's bedtime stories sound like softcore horror stories. In terms of gameplay, this is a narrative-focused third-person shooter with survival elements, rich lore, and the occasional sentient tree trying to ruin your day. There's a lot of crafting, spellcasting, and important story choices. You can also pet bosses, provided you can beat them. Haha. The game's art style is full of hand-painted feelings, like an old storybook come to life, like World War I meets the world of magic. It's incredible. So if you're tired of cookie-cutter shooters and want a contrasting game world, Chains of Lukomorye is the one for you. Just don't follow those glowing mushrooms, trust me. Spark in the Dark is what happens when you mix a Souls-like dungeon crawler with pure psychological horror, and then strip away your map, your hope, and most of your vision. This game drops you in an underground labyrinth full of traps, grotesque monsters, and complete darkness. You have a torch, a sword, and that's pretty much it. If you think this is just about fighting, think again. It's about surviving while everything tries to break you mentally. The art style is grimy medieval horror with super detailed textures and a gloomy, oppressive vibe that doesn't let up. It looks like someone took Darkest Dungeon and made it 3D, then doubled the fear factor. Gameplay-wise, it's slow and methodical. You move carefully, manage stamina, and timing is everything. No spamming, no sprinting your way out. Every enemy encounter feels like a boss fight, and you'll die a lot, fair warning. It's punishing, atmospheric, and absolutely not for the faint of heart. But if you like games where your fear becomes your best teacher, Spark in the Dark is a must-try. If you've ever dreamed of being part of a Mafia story that feels straight out of The Godfather, Mafia The Old Country might be your next favorite crime ride. This isn't just another shoot-and-drive game. It's a cinematic open-world crime saga set in 1920s Italy, where you're not just pulling triggers, you're managing relationships, handling betrayals, and working your way up the criminal food chain. The art style goes for realism, with beautifully lit towns, smoky interiors, and vintage cars that feel like they just rolled off a movie set. It's full of subtle details, like rain on cobblestone and that one NPC who always looks like he's watching you. Gameplay mixes third-person, cover-based shooting, stealth sections, and choice-driven dialogue. It's not twitchy fast, but it's about tension, making the right move at the right time, or watching your empire crumble. The best part? It feels like you're in the story. And if you're the type who loves morally gray characters, tragic arcs, and classic gangster aesthetics, this one hits all the right notes. Code Vein 2 is back. You read that right. It's still anime Dark Souls, but this time it's bloodier, more dramatic, and more challenging. The game retains its core gameplay, a fast-paced action RPG with evasive combat, flashy special moves, and a clever blend of gothic and sci-fi apocalypse style. If the first game was a fight for survival, the sequel is more like a fight for feeling. It really integrates the bonds between characters, the storyline, and the emotional ups and downs of the battles like anime. The art style of the game is vibrant but edgy. You will see gleaming swords, trench coats, and enemies that look like they walked out of the cover of a metal album. As for combat, the game is still challenging, but with more exquisite details. You can switch combat styles during combos, and the AI of teammates has been improved. They no longer just watch you die. This game is perfect for players who like the difficulty of the Souls series, but want to experience faster, richer colors, and more anime style. The game's soundtrack is still as powerful as ever, and the red veil is cooler than ever. I like this female character very much, and look forward to the launch of this game. Tides of Oblivion sounds like a game about the ocean, but in fact, it is a doomsday game full of fantasy colors. From the character design and modeling, it feels great. The game combines brutal action combat with large-scale doomsday events. You have to fight corrupted gods, surf on ruins, and avoid thunderstorms. There is news that this game is developed by a Chinese company, and I was incredible when I saw this news. The story, setting, characters, physics, and mechanisms of the game have been creatively conceived, which is a bit subverting my cognition. Although the game has just been announced, I feel that it is very close to its official release. I believe everyone knows a YouTuber named Devil Never Cry. He recently released his evaluation of the game's expansion video, and before going into it in depth, He actually said that he had played this game at the end of last year, which means it might be closer to launch than we think, even though that might be wishful thinking. Either way, can't wait.